My name's Michelle. I am 37 this year and I work in the finance industry. I actually was drinking since I was in my late teens when I turned 18, and it's always been a social activity for me. I drank because that was what all my friends were doing, and it didn't occur to me that I actually had a problem because I felt that everyone was partying and drinking the same way as I was. I remember I had my first blackout at a friend's birthday party, and it was a free flow, alcohol, and I remember just drinking and to the point when I don't remember what happened, and the next thing I knew, I woke up on a strange bed in the school hostel. So two of my friends had actually brought me to the hostel because they didn't know where I lived, and so they brought me there. So I woke up on the bed and I just remembered feeling confused, and but I thought that I just probably was too tired from drinking too much and I passed out. So I didn't think too much about that event. I graduated from university, I started working, and it became easier to go to parties and drink because I was now earning something, and my friends were all drinking, and at that time it was fashionable to go for ladies' night. So for women, you had free entrance to bars and free drinks, and so again it just encouraged me to go for such events on almost a weekly basis, and I didn't think it was again an issue. I just thought that was what people in their early 20s do, to relax after work. It became more frequent to once a week, twice a week, to the point when I reached my 30s, I was drinking almost on a daily basis. But then again, I didn't think it was an issue. I continued having blackouts, waking up the next day not knowing what happened the night before, but I started creating justifications for what happened. So I would think that okay, I was either too tired or I just had a bit too much to drink, but that was fine, I will control it better the next time. I brought just one credit card. I brought just enough cash to take a cab home, and just my keys in my pocket. So I tried not to carry anything in my hand so that I wouldn't lose things, because I've lost it before when I blacked out. So I started having these sort of the tactics to sort of justify just going out to drink and party. At this point in time, I was feeling a lot of pressure. I felt because I put a lot of pressure on myself to sort of fit into an image I thought that my family or society wanted me to become. So I was female and becoming of age, and after I've finished my education, I got a job. The next step would be to settle down and start a family. So, but at the same time, I just felt this uncertainty, is this the kind of life I wanted to go into? But I just ignored that and tried to suppress that uncertainty and that emotion with more alcohol. I got into a relationship with a guy, and then I decided that okay, I had enough of partying. I wanted to settle down and be the good girl image that I wanted to portray. So I dated this guy for a while, and then he proposed, and then I said yes, and then we got married. And I think from then on, it sort of started that spiral into my really daily drinking. I was really unhappy in the marriage because, you know, I felt that I went into this relationship on the basis that I wanted to fulfill my responsibility, like, you know, as a daughter, as a wife, but yet having no real desire to have children or even like to be married to this man. So, but rather than approaching it, like, you know, by talking or communicating with my husband or by seeking help, I turned to alcohol because it gave me the instant gratification of numbing the feelings, you know, that I felt. And by blacking out, I started drinking on a daily basis because I didn't want to feel the uncomfortable feelings that I felt, you know, every time I finished work and I had to go home. So I started drinking every day after work, sometimes at the pub at the office downstairs, but it started to become like an expensive habit. So I discovered Red Mart. They do, like, you know, deliveries on alcohol, and it was really cheap to order in bulk. So I started telling myself, okay, I have my own house now. I will have house parties, so, you know, it's okay to order alcohol in bulk and keep them in the house. But, you know, each time the order came, I would finish the order and then tell myself again that I should reorder in case that I have a house party the next time. So I would order, like, you know, cartons of beer, and also cases of wine, and stock them in the fridge. And at that point in time, for that few years that I was just drinking every day, that was all my fridge contained. It started affecting my work. I started drinking and I found it really hard to wake up the next morning to get to work. So I would call in sick. And it started becoming almost a weekly basis. I would call in sick at least once a week. But I would continue drinking when I'm sick because I felt that, okay, I have an extra day now, day off, and I would still drink. At that time, my marriage was breaking down. We weren't communicating, so the drinking became more frequent, and it wasn't even at night. I started drinking in the daytime, afternoon, you know, all hours on weekends. And it just, I still remember, like, I thought that was going to be the life for me, like, you know, in this marriage and in this life. I'm just going to wake up, go to work, drink, black out, forget, and repeat the same cycle over and over again. So I didn't have any form of hope or optimism for the life moving forward. The blackouts were so frequent because I would drink until I had a blackout. So at the back of my head, somehow I started hearing that, you know, maybe you're drinking too much. I still didn't think it was a problem, but there was a voice inside that was saying that, okay, I think maybe your alcohol intake is a bit too much. And I'm starting to hear as well from my friends, like, comments like, oh, you know, like, like, things that I would do when I was, like, in a blackout. And then I remember feeling very embarrassed, and I wanted to drink, but then not in front of my friends. So I withdrew, and when I started drinking on a daily basis, I tried to, you know, I thought I had a problem with controlling the amount of alcohol that I consume. So the things I did to try to control, I actually blamed it on, you know, because I'm female, I'm smaller size, so I thought that, okay, maybe I need to consume food before I drank. So I started taking, like, you know, things like oily food, like fried pork lard, or drinking water in between my drinks so that I could dilute the alcohol. I also, you know, tried to control the amount I would I was drinking by switching. So I thought that, okay, hard liquor probably has a higher alcohol content, so I'll stick with beer or wine, and therefore I could have more of the, you know, the same since it wasn't like a higher alcohol content. And I think I also tried to control by limiting how much money I brought out. So like I wouldn't bring my credit card out, and like I'll bring limited cash. But all the time, like once I have taken my first sip of the alcohol, I knew that I couldn't stop. And my mind would just devise ways to find, like, you know, find ways to obtain that alcohol. So like if I didn't have enough cash or money, I'll just tell people it's my birthday. And then people will just buy you drinks, right? Because like you're female and you say it's your birthday. I could never, on my own, control my intake of alcohol, no matter what I did. I just blamed it on my lack of self-control, which was again very conflicting for me, because I felt that I was a person that was in control of my life, like every aspect of my life, but it's just alcohol that I can't control. This lack of control was actually beginning to bother me, because I was really upset that I couldn't control my alcohol intake. You know, I was wondering what is wrong with me. Why can't I just stop when I feel that I've reached that high? Yeah, but I could never stop. So I even asked my friends to stop me, but you know, they could never stop me from drinking. So it just continued, you know, spiraling down. I was spending more time at home just drinking, not meeting my friends, calling in sick from work. And then, you know, like my friends were telling me like how bad of a drunk I was when I was in my blackout, because and the scariest thing for me was not being able to remember anything that I did when I was in a blackout, because for me, I like being in control. So when I'm in a blackout, that's the time when I don't remember what I was doing, and I can't control my actions or what I said. No one around me talked about alcoholism, and my impression of alcoholics were people, you know, on the streets, drunk, and typically men, or you know, that it wasn't. I couldn't see a profile of an alcoholic like someone like me, like someone who was working, you know, functioning normally, had an education, you know. So I just couldn't relate with an alcoholic. But I actually thought I had a mental problem. So for a period of time, I was at the IMH website, and I thought I had, you know, either depression or bipolar, and I was like doing all these tests to determine if I had a mental problem. Finally, what got me into, you know, to seeking help in AA was because my marriage was breaking down. I wasn't communicating with my husband. At this point in time, during this time, I actually, you know, became really close to an ex-colleague of mine. And it was in one of these drunken, you know, we went out for dinner. I had a lot of drinks. We both had a lot of drinks. And my husband at that time wasn't in Singapore. And I brought this guy into my house. And then, you know, we slept together. And then we continued this affair for some time. And I remember the first few encounters, you know, I always had a lot of alcohol. And then there was once, you know, I had an early morning flight the next morning, and I was spending the night with this guy. But I had a lot of alcohol to drink. And I just remember, you know, waking up and him trying to send me home so that I can go home and pack and go catch my flight. And then he was telling me the next day that I was very hard to handle. He couldn't handle me when I was drunk. And he suggested that, you know, I may have a problem with alcohol. So I that was actually the first time someone told me in the face that I had a problem with alcohol. Upon hearing that, something just clicked, and for some reason, the only thing I remember about alcoholism was, the things that I watched in American dramas or movies, where when someone has a problem with alcohol and they seek help. There's this group called Alcoholics Anonymous, and they sit around in a circle and they start telling each other their problems. So out of curiosity, I googled Alcoholics Anonymous, and I actually found, I was surprised when I saw that there was a Alcoholics Anonymous Singapore web page. Still remember staring at the page for quite a while, deciding if I should go and check out a meeting. And I still remember that just before the meeting the next day, I was deliberating if I should go, because I have no idea what I'm going to encounter, who I'm going to meet, what are they going to talk about, is this like a cult? All these questions confronted me. So, but in the end, I just said since I'm there, let's just do it. So I went into the meeting, and that first meeting actually changed my life, because it was a small group. So I joined the meeting, and people started sharing about their experiences, and I just remembered feeling that for the first time, there were actually people that felt and drank exactly like me. And I started crying, because I felt relieved. All this while, when I was telling my friends, this is how I feel when I'm drinking, I can't stop. I tried really hard to control, but I just couldn't do it. But when I went, and they couldn't understand what I meant. So when I went to my first meeting, people were sharing that they struggle with the same control, and it's not because they lack self-control. It's because they have a disease, and that disease is called alcoholism. For the longest time, I thought I had mental issues. I thought I had some weird thing that I couldn't diagnose, but now I know that it's alcoholism. And the best part is hearing that people are able to deal with alcoholism through a program. I have been 2.5 years sober now, and it's strange now trying to think about how life was before when I was drinking and how life is now, because the beauty is I'm not taking any drugs or medication to stop me from drinking. I am living life as normally. I go to parties with my friends. There is alcohol all around me, but yet I do not have that same desire to pick up that first drink, because for me, I know that I have a disease, and picking up that first drink will be really lethal for me. So, and through the AA program, it helps me to also not only learn about my disease better, but also how to live, life on life's terms. My worst days in sobriety is always better than my best days when I was drinking. So when I was drinking, I was always taking medical leave. I didn't have much savings because I spent it all on drinks. I was always not committing to promises or things that I've activities that I've actually made a commitment to. After I stopped drinking, I suddenly had a lot of money because I wasn't spending money on alcohol. I had a lot of time on my hands because, it used to be always every day after work, time, like the whole night at the pub. And then my weekends will be, all day drinking, and then all day hangover, so I would just be at home, hungover. Now that I'm not drinking, I have a lot of time, and I'm able to do things that I've always wanted to do, like learning to play the piano, studying languages, spending time with my family. So these are things that I used to just, give away because I was too busy drinking. But now with this much time, I can spend it on more meaningful activities. And I feel so much refreshed, younger. When I was drinking, people used to tell me I looked tired all the time, and I couldn't understand why. But after I stopped drinking, my health was immediately better. I felt like I could smell again. I felt I could move lightly. I started exercising. It's all these basic things that used to make me feel so bad about myself when I was drinking, but now I just feel so much cleaner and healthier. Life is so much better now because I can feel the emotions of whatever life brings about, like whether it's like a happy event, a sad event, or angry. I could feel this whole range of emotions. I used to not feel anything because I wanted to numb it all with alcohol. But that is not life. That is, just being in the denial. So now with being in sobriety, I feel like I am living a second life, reborn, because every experience is new to me. I used to not want to travel on my own because I was afraid of being lonely, and I thought that I would just drink if I was on my own. Now I go on trips on my own, and I'm experiencing so many different things. I feel like there's not enough time for me to experience everything that the world has to offer.